Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. We are in Michigan this hour, where we're looking ahead to an arraignment hearing happening next week for a Michigan woman accused of killing 2 children. Marshella Chidester is charged with 2 counts of second-degree homicide after she drove into a boat club where a kid's birthday party was being held. There, she fatally struck 2 siblings. Now, Chidester told officers that she suffers from seizures, but also admitted to drinking that day before getting into the car. All right, I want to take a listen now to what a neighbor and one of the responding officers had to say about that horrific incident last week during her probable cause hearing.
Mr. Schmidt, where do you reside?
I am directly next door to the Swan Boat Club on the west side.
Okay. And that's located in Newport, Michigan, County Monroe?
Yes, it is.
Sir, were you home on April 20th of 2024?
Yes, I was.
Did something unusual occur that day?
Yes, I heard a large, what sounded like an explosion at the time.
Okay. You know about what time of day that was?
It was about 2 to 3 in the afternoon.
When you heard that noise, what did you do?
I assumed it was something going into the dumpster at the boat club because they're always throwing something in there, so you hear large bangs. I went outside to walk the dog, and that's when I noticed that there was a hole in the side of the boat club, and I went to check it out.
Okay. I went to check it out. What did you do specifically?
I walked over there, and I noticed it was a pretty bad scene, so I got out my cell phone, and I recorded it to get evidence for whatever the police needed. I know it's important to have those first moments. I didn't realize what I was getting into.
So you live directly next door, so you walked down the road that's the parking lot to the boat club?
Walked across my lawn.
Okay. And you entered how did you enter into the boat club?
I walked through the hole that Marshall drove through.
And you recorded this on your cell phone, you said?
I did. I started recording before I went through the hole because I wasn't sure what I was going to see. I didn't know at the time it was Marshall, my neighbor. I thought there were some other kids that drove a car similar to it, and I thought maybe it was them. And so I wanted to make sure to get them in case they tried to run away or do something goofy.
Okay. Eventually, did you give that cell phone recording to law enforcement?
I did.
And did you have an opportunity to review that cell phone recording after you recorded it?
Yes, I watched it.
The record reflects the people are playing Exhibit 1.
Did you receive a dispatch that brought us here today?
Yes, sir.
On April 20th?
Yes, sir.
What was that dispatch?
Mineral County Central Dispatch broadcast a serious injury crash that occurred at the Swan Boat Club. They relayed that there was a car that had crashed into a building, trapping people underneath and injuring several others.
What did you do in response to this dispatch?
I was at North Dixie Highway and Interstate 75, and I responded with my lights and sirens.
Did you eventually arrive at the boat club?
Yes, sir.
What did you observe when you arrived?
It was a very a chaotic scene. There was a very large hole in the side of the building. There was multiple people laying on the ground, asking for assistance in different states of injury.
Were you the first law enforcement officer to respond?
Yes, sir.
And were any other first responders there when you arrived?
There was several fire departments that firefighters had shown up just as I arrived.
Indicated there was a hole in the building. Did you enter the building?
Yes, sir.
And what did you see inside the building?
I found I believe it was a dark blue Ford Edge crashed into the building. There was several other victims lying on the floor, and then there was also a set of folding chairs with several people sitting on those folding chairs.
Okay. At some point, was the defendant in this case pointed out to you?
Yes, sir. I asked witnesses if the driver was here, and they pointed out to the suspect.
And did she identify herself to you?
Yes, sir.
Do you see the person who identified herself to you as the driver of the vehicle?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Your Honor, will stipulate to the defendant identification.
Stipulation is entered.
Thank you, Judge. What did you do with the driver of the vehicle at that time?
I began to escort her out of the building, and I asked her if she was okay, if she was injured during the crash, and how she ended up crashing into the building.
Okay. And what did you do with her at that time?
I secured her in the back seat of my patrol car.
Okay. What did you do after that?
I started to help out the first responders as much as I could, looking for other victims, which we found several in the area that would have been in front of where the vehicle crashed in a separate room.
Okay. Sergeant, were you assigned a body-worn camera at this time?
Yes, sir.
What happened?
I passed out.
Okay. Have you been feeling ill or anything like that?
Yes.
What kind of medical conditions do you have?
Seizures.
Seizures? Okay. Were you here for the party?
No.
What were you out here at the boat club for? Are you a member?
I was just coming down here.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, this is terrible.
So you take medications for seizure, you
Yes.
said? Have you been drinking at all today?
A little bit, yes.
Okay. When's the last time you had something to drink?
Probably half an hour ago.
Half an hour ago? What did you drink?
Wine.
Okay. What's your name, hon? Marshella what?
Chidester.
Chidester, okay. You don't have any weapons on you, do you?
No.
All right, I'm just going to leave you back here just for a little bit, okay?
Okay.
All right. Do you need to see any medical attention right now?
So.
Okay. I'm going to roll down this window over here and just get you some air, okay? Okay. I just want to separate her from everything that's going on.
All right, again, we are watching testimony from a preliminary hearing. This hearing, the purpose of it was for prosecutors to present evidence to a judge, and the judge would rule whether or not there was enough evidence to go forward to trial. We're showing you that this happened last Thursday. The judge did, in fact, rule that there was enough evidence, and her arraignment is expected to happen next week. So we're just going back, showing you some of the evidence the state has against her. Coming up, another responding officer testifies to speaking with the defendant following the crash, what she had to say after the break. Keep it here on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, diving deeper into the divisions surrounding the Karen Reed trial. Plus a look ahead to our next huge trial, the manslaughter case against Alec Baldwin.
Closing Arguments tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV. 8 hours of back-to-back true crime cases every Saturday.
This is crazy.
On America's original true crime obsession. 48 hours on Court TV. Saturday starting at 4/3 Central on Court TV.
Back now to Michigan, where we're looking ahead to an arraignment hearing happening next week for defendant Marshella Chidester. The 66-year-old is accused of crashing her car into a kid's birthday party earlier this year, killing 4-year-old Zane and 8-year-old Alana Phillips, and then injuring a dozen others. Now, during a probable cause hearing held last week, the court heard from a responding officer who interviewed Marshella just minutes after the fatal accident. Take a look what she had to say.
Did you notice any other signs of intoxication?
I did.
What did you notice?
The odor of intoxicants coming off her person, her inability to maintain balance, and then also her eyes were bloodshot, watery.
And at some point, did you place her under arrest?
I did.
What did you arrest her for?
Suspicion of operating while intoxicated.
I pulled into the parking lot, and I thought I was driving up to the boat club, and evidently I was driving right into the pavilion.
Which direction did you drive from?
I live right down the street.
Okay, so you were coming from that way?
Yes.
This way? When you got to the parking lot, what happened?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you think there's a reason you don't remember? Did something happen, or?
You know what? I have these seizures, and
Okay. Do you have anything where it says, like, maybe that, does your doctor permit you to drive and everything?
I'm cleared to drive now, and I don't have my purse with me, but I do have a card in my purse.
Okay. When's the last time you had a seizure that you know of?
March.
In March?
Yeah.
Okay. So in March is the last time you remember that you had a seizure.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get this. Were you hospitalized for it?
Yes.
You were?
Yes.
Okay. Was it you had like at home or something?
No, I was in Monroe for 4 days and Toledo for 6 days.
So did you have your seizure while you were at home? Or did you have it
I had it at home, and then I did have one when I was in the hospital.
When you were in the hospital? Okay. And March is going to be the last time you had that seizure?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Do you think, is your normal behavior when you have a seizure, is it have lapses of memory?
Yes.
Okay. So once you got to the parking lot, you don't remember anything?
I don't.
Okay. Okay. I think that's all the questions I have for you now. Deputy Schmidt's gonna take you over from here, okay? So on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being like you're stone cold sober, you can drive perfectly, 10 being you're passed out drunk, where do you think you're at right now?
7.
A 7? Okay. Do you think you're okay to drive?
I wouldn't want to drive.
You wouldn't let you drive?
No.
Okay. Okay, just give me 1 second, okay? Sorry, my phone's ringing. I think it's going to be my boss.
Okay.
I apologize.
Judge, that's the end of the video. We would renew our request to move to admit Exhibit 5, Judge.
Any additional objections from the defense?
No additional objections.
It is admitted.
Deputy, who transported the defendant to the hospital?
I did.
And why were you transporting her to the hospital?
To perform the blood draw for the OWI investigation.
And at some point during the transport or your time with her, did she tell you why she was going to the boat club that day?
Yes.
What did she say?
She advised me that she was on her way to attend a birthday party at the boat club.
What hospital did you transport her to?
ProMedica Monroe Hospital.
And did that hospital draw her blood?
They did.
Were you present during the blood draw?
I was.
What happened to the blood after it was drawn?
It was placed back into the blood kit by me along with the corresponding paperwork.
Is that a kit that gets sealed away?
It is.
And that kit, you sealed it in the usual manner?
Yes.
And it was transported where?
Back to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
And ultimately, where did it end up?
Evidence.
Was it transported at some point to the crime lab?
It was.
Lansing? Okay. Did you receive the results back?
I did.
Judge, I'm going to show the exhibit. What is the people's proposed Exhibit 6?
Objection, Your Honor. There's lack of foundation.
Judge, this comes in under MCL 766.11B without foundation. I'm just being nice here, Judge.
Response?
I would like to cross-examine the deputy.
He'll have that opportunity, Judge.
Under the Code of Criminal Procedure, it's a self-authenticating document for the purposes of preliminary examination. No foundation is required. It is admitted.
Thank you, Judge.
May I see it prior to being admitted?
Behind you, Exhibit 6. Can you tell me if you recognize that document?
Yes.
What is it?
It is the laboratory report from the crime lab.
And can you please read the results of the report, please?
So item number 1 that was tested was her blood, which came back to a 0.18 grams of alcohol per 100 milliliters of blood.
Deputy, do you know the legal limit for operating while intoxicated in the state of Michigan?
0.08.
And do you know the legal limit for operating with a high blood alcohol content in the state of Michigan?
0.17.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Deputy. I'll take that from you. Did you receive another lab report, Deputy?
I did.
I'm going to show you what is marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 7, Judge. We will also be requesting this be admitted under 76.11B.
Your Honor, same objection as previously. I'd like to take a look at the exhibit.
Defense, please.
Sorry. Deputy,
Objection is overruled to being a self-authenticating document.
Thank you, Judge. It is admitted.
It is admitted.
Thank you. Judge, Deputy, this is Exhibit 7. Do you recognize this document?
I do.
What is it?
It is the supplemental lab report that came back from the crime lab.
And can you please tell me what the results of that report are?
The crime lab detected gabapentin in her system.
Does it provide a level or it just indicates gabapentin?
It says 1.3 UG per milliliter. I don't know what UG stands for.
Understood.
My client was asked, what number do you feel you are today? And she responded per video, number 7, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The video never says that under the influence of intoxicants, what number are you? Do you agree with that?
Correct.
Okay. And do you agree that it could be interpreted you just went through a wall and you wouldn't be able to, you don't feel like driving a car?
Possibly.
The objection, Your Honor, I think he's mischaracterizing the evidence. The deputy said on a scale of 1 to 10, 0 being you're completely sober, 10 being you're passed out drunk.
No, Your Honor, he's trying to testify.
Judge, we can watch the video again. That's what was stated.
Your Honor, you heard what the deputy sheriff said.
What is your response to the objection?
The objection is the officer testified. He speaks for himself. He was there. And it wasn't said about the alcohol. Whatever the court heard on a video, the court heard. I'm not going to object to that.
Overruled. I'll give it the weight that it deserves.
Thank you, Judge. And then the question of my client is, do you feel that you should be able to drive or not drive? And my client answered no. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know if she said no based upon her just getting through driving through a wall?
Objection, Your Honor. He's calling for asking the witness to speculate to what the defendant knew or didn't know.
Response.
Well, he was there, Your Honor. He would be able to answer or not answer.
Sustained. It's speculative.
Okay. Officer, when asked of my client does she feel she could drive the car, drive the vehicle, whatever may have been said or asked, and she said no, was there any mention of alcohol in that sentence or that question about being able to drive? Can you drive?
No, but I believe Deputy Karina's scale that he gave mentions alcohol in it.
Okay. Now, earlier you said no, but now you're saying yes.
What do you mean?
About alcohol being mentioned. Earlier you said no, it wasn't mentioned.
Well, when he asked her about the level of 1 to 10, whatever, stone cold, sober, or passed out drunk.
All right. And as to operating the vehicle, whether to operate it or not, was the word alcohol used in that sentence or that phrase?
By the defendant?
No, by the officer.
Then no.
Okay. And did you go to the hospital of when the blood sample was taken of my client?
I did.
Okay. And when the blood sample was taken, do you use a state police kit?
I do.
Okay. And the state police kit, did it have 2 vials in it?
It did.
Okay. And you saw somebody draw blood?
Correct.
Okay. Is that person here today?
No.
Okay. And when then you opened up the vials, the 2 glass vials, am I correct? There's a seal on them?
I didn't open the glass vials.
Who opened the glass vials?
I don't know if they were opened. I don't remember that.
Do you remember if the vials were sealed?
Were they sealed?
Yes. There's a package.
Right.
That there's this kit, they call it.
Right.
And you opened it?
Correct.
You were in charge?
Correct.
Okay. And when you opened it, did it have 2 vials in it?
It did.
Okay. And then you took the vials out, correct?
Correct.
And those vials are to hold blood, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then what did you do with the vials? Was there any seal on them?
Oh.
There wasn't a seal.
I placed them back in the cardboard that's in the kit, and then I folded up the box, and there's a shipping seal that comes inside.
Let me back up.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Maybe I wasn't clear. It was prior to the blood being drawn.
Okay.
Did you unseal them?
Like the actual tubes itself?
Yes, the vials.
No.
Yes. You never unsealed them.
All right, let me bring in my guest for this hour. Joining us, national trial attorney, big case Michael Jafers with me. Mike, great to see you. Thank you so much for being with me this afternoon. First and foremost, just want to remind our viewers it's a preliminary hearing. Basically, it's a low standard. They have to show probable cause that the crime was committed way, way far away from beyond a reasonable doubt. But defense attorneys like it. And they like it because they get information. We're watching an attorney here doing exactly that, getting information.
Yeah, absolutely. These are very, 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 when you first become an attorney in Michigan, your first day of training to be a public defender is about the preliminary examination, which I don't know why others did. When I was a young attorney, I thought every state had it. I guess not many. It's a very important hearing, and here's why. It could cut both ways. Many attorneys actually waive these, and they don't conduct them, and here's why. Whatever you elicit during that preliminary examination, you're stuck with that trial. So the theory is, if he asks questions at this hearing, and the person who answers them in a way where the attorney is not comfortable with, and that person, let's say, passes away before the trial, he's stuck with that testimony. And so it could cut both ways. It could cut in favor of you and against you. And if you notice, the defense did not bring any witness, right? They didn't bring any witness, and they wanted to examine the main person they wanted to examine was a deputy for the state, because they wanted to know what was a testing mechanism. Look, they only have one defense here. The defense, it's still a Hail Mary. Was the gabapentin in her system, and if it was, did that affect her legs and it prevent her from hitting the brakes? Because she clearly was driving in an assured distance. She was not passed out. And so were her legs affected? And so that attorney, Kolovas, I actually know him, he wanted to elicit whether or not the testing was done right, because the only defense they possibly have is the gabapentin in her system is what caused her to run into the boathouse, and not the alcohol. One more thing, Michael, Michigan is one of the few states. The legislature got sick and tired of people blowing the 0.08 blood alcohol level, so they passed a super drunk law. If you're 0.17 or higher, it's a different crime. And so for her, I think she's cooked because she's at a 0.18. I don't think the gabapentin will be a reasonable argument, but it's the only one they've got.
Yeah, I mean, they have another one, which we'll get into coming up, where she apparently has seizures. And from the black box information that we know about, and we'll talk about that, like I said, coming up in the next block. But according to the black box information, she might have an argument that perhaps this was a seizure. We'll talk about what that might mean for the case and everything. But, Mike, I do have to take a break. Stand by. Coming up, we're going to hear from two of the surviving victims who were seriously injured during the crash. That's next. So keep it here on your front row seat to justice.
Holding you back.
Now back to Michigan, where an arraignment hearing begins next week for Marshella Chidester. The 66-year-old is facing several charges, including 2 counts of second-degree murder. Prosecutors say that on April 20th, Chidester drove her car into a boat club, killing 2 kids and injuring over a dozen other people, all while under the influence of alcohol. And there's video of the incident. Now, 2 of the surviving victims recall the day of celebration turned nightmare at a probable cause hearing that was held last week. Let's go in now to hear some of their testimony.
Ms. Medina, are you familiar with the Swan Boat Club?
Yes.
How are you familiar with it?
I'm a member of Swan Boat Club.
And were you there on April 20th of this year?
I was.
What brought you to the boat club on that day?
I was there for a child's birthday party.
And are you related to the child? What brought you to the birthday party?
I know the mother of the child.
Friends with the mom?
Just a friend, yes.
Okay. Do you know approximately what time you arrived at the birthday party?
About 10 minutes to 1.
And do you remember where you were prior to the crash?
I was sitting at a table against the back wall where the car entered.
And can you describe the situation prior to the crash?
It was a beautiful party. I mean, the mother of the child did an amazing job and everybody was having a great time. It was just... Any 3-year-old would have been happy to have that birthday party.
Do you remember anything about the crash?
Yes.
Can you tell me what you remember about the crash?
I remember hearing a super loud, sounded like an explosion. I remember seeing like white dust, peripheral vision, and I felt something hit my back and push me.
Do you know if you lost consciousness?
I do not.
And were you injured as a result of that crash?
Yes, I was.
Do you know what injuries you sustained?
My pelvis was broken in 6 places. I had internal bleeding. My nose was crushed. I had a hematoma on my right arm. A laceration to my head. And some other things I can't think of everything else.
Did you have a closed head injury?
Yes.
And were you taken to the hospital on that day?
I was.
Do you know what hospital you were taken to?
Originally I was taken to Monroe.
Did you stay at Monroe?
I did not.
Do you know where you were taken after that?
I was taken by ambulance to Toledo.
Was this all the same day?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Were you admitted to the Toledo hospital?
Yes, I was.
Do you know approximately how long you were there?
I was there approximately, I was in the hospital for 17 days. I think I was at Toledo for 10.
Okay. Were you at a different hospital after Toledo then?
I went to a rehab facility in Taylor.
How are you doing today?
I've been better.
Understandable. Are you able to walk?
I can take steps with the help of a walker.
Okay. Are you in any pain at the moment?
Yes.
Do you take pain medication?
I do.
Does it affect your ability to testify today?
I didn't take it this morning.
Do you have issues sitting or standing for long periods of time?
I do.
What do you have? What is that issue?
My tailbone hurts, my hips hurt, and when I stand for a long period of time, my back hurts.
Were you employed prior to the crash?
I was.
How so?
I was quality control for Hollingsworth.
Are you employed now?
I am not. Well, I'm still employed, but I'm on a medical leave.
You're not working. You're unable to work.
Right.
Okay. That is by your doctor's orders?
Yes.
Are you in any therapy?
I am.
What kind of therapy are you taking?
I do physical therapy 3 times a week. I do a speech therapy 3 times a week. And I do a psychologist one time a week.
What is the speech therapy for?
The speech therapy is for finding my words. Sometimes in the middle of the conversation, I'll lose my train of thought and forget what we were talking about.
Is that related to the head injury?
It is.
Judge, at this time we draw the court's attention to Exhibit 14, the medical records for Diane Medina. These were previously submitted to the court by stipulation of the parties. I have no further questions for this witness, Judge.
That exhibit is admitted to the stipulation. Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just have one, ma'am. All these injuries that you have suffered were all a result with regard to the accident. In other words, you didn't suffer from any of these prior to it.
No, I did not.
How are you familiar with the boat club?
Me and my family, we've been going there for years and years.
As members?
Yeah, as members. Our boat's been there.
And were you there on April 20th?
Yep.
And what brought you to the boat club on April 20th?
It was my little cousin's birthday party.
Do you know approximately what time you would have arrived?
I would say around 2:30.
And do you remember where you were just prior to the crash?
I was at the buffet area just getting food for me and my little sister.
You were standing then?
Yep, at the time.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And what do you remember about the crash itself?
It was very abrupt. It was pretty close to an explosion, what it seemed. And it was just chaos everywhere, and all you could hear was babies crying, everyone screaming. There's plenty of people injured. I actually could barely move at the time, so I wasn't able to look around too much, but once I was able to move, that's what I had seen.
Were you injured in the crash?
Pretty severely.
And how were you injured, do you recall?
I have 3 broken ribs, a punctured lung, a pretty severely broken sternum, and multiple hematomas.
Did you receive any treatment on that day?
Yes, I was rushed to the hospital.
Do you know what hospital you were taken to?
Corwell Health in Trenton.
And were you admitted to that hospital?
Yep.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And did you stay there overnight?
Yes.
Did you stay there for multiple nights?
Multiple nights,
Do you know
yes.
how many nights you stayed?
I believe 2 nights and 3 days.
How are you currently doing?
It's definitely been a back and forth process. The healing, it's just now starting to really take effect, which it's been a lot longer than I would have liked, but it's difficult to try and go about my days like I didn't just witness something extremely horrific.
That's understandable. Are you currently working? Are you able to work?
No, I'm not able to work.
The doctor has said you cannot.
Yep.
Were you working prior to the accident?
Yes, 50 hours a week.
Are you in any sort of therapy, physical or psychological?
I'm in art therapy as well as talk therapy.
Now, there's no getting around it. They're just awful, awful facts in this case. 2 dead children, dozens of injuries, really awful injuries. No matter what the defense comes up with, it's going to be difficult. Now, we have to squeeze in a break, but coming up, we're going to hear from the mother of the 2 young siblings who were killed in that crash. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, diving deeper into the division surrounding the Karen Reed trial. Plus a look ahead to our next huge trial, the manslaughter case against Alec Baldwin.
Closing Arguments tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
A-list actor Alec Baldwin is cast in the real-life role he never wanted.
I turn a cop because the gun goes off.
Criminal defendant.
The Alec Baldwin manslaughter trial. Live coverage begins Monday morning only on Court TV.
Welcome back, folks. Before we head back to court, let me bring back in my guest, still with us, national trial attorney, actually based in Detroit, Michigan, Michael Jaffer. Mike, I want to get back to our discussion earlier. Again, second-degree murder in this case, any unplanned, non-premeditated, intentional killing of another caused by reckless disregard for human life. This goes back to what we were talking about earlier, this idea that maybe it was some combination of the gabapentin, which is meant to control any kind of seizures and things of that nature. And you're saying if she connects that or maybe that there's some mixture of alcohol. She claims she had 1 glass of wine at a bar, but of course the officer said he smelled a lot of alcohol, so I don't know if those jibe. But also, she claims that she might have had a seizure. Her legs stiffen up when she has a seizure. The black box showed that the speed from 5 seconds to impact, 5 seconds before, that whole time, the speed is increasing. And it shows that the gas pedal was pushed all the way down. That kind of plays into the idea that there was some sort of maybe seizure going on. Does that help her at all?
Yes, you stumbled right into the main point of this case. So had she not been drunk, I don't think she would have even been charged with murder too. I think she would have been charged with something else and she would have pled this out. But because of the fact that she was above a 0.17, she wasn't just above a 0.08, she was above a 0.17. You then fast forward to the fact that there's going to be a trial, there's going to be witnesses, there's going to be testimony, then there's going to be a closing argument. In the closing argument, I can tell you what the state's going to say because it's black letter law in Michigan. They're going to say at a 0.18, she no longer has the right to have any, because even if she had a seizure and even if this murder was unintentional, by virtue of the fact of her making the intentional decision to get behind the wheel, even if she didn't have a seizure or did have a seizure, she made that overt decision. And by doing that, she created the situation where she could then have a seizure because we know that the seizure is exacerbated by alcohol, right? So she's not, the gabapentin in her system adds credibility to the fact that she had a seizure. And what you said right now that I didn't know, the forensic evidence also lends credibility to that. But the fact that she was super drunk, she's done.
Yeah, there's that reckless behavior, that reckless disregard for human life. All right, Mike, stand by. That fatal crash, of course, did kill 2 siblings, 4-year-old Zane and 8-year-old Alana Phillips. Their mother actually spoke during that probable cause hearing last week, describing the injuries that she and her surviving child sustained after the crash. Take a listen.
I went to my godson's 3rd birthday party.
Okay. And that was held at the Swan Boat Club in Newport, Michigan?
Yeah.
And that's in the County Monroe, right?
Yes.
Did you drive there that day?
Yes.
And roughly, if you could tell us, where is the Swan Boat Club?
It's in Newport.
Like, in Newport?
On Branchy Road,
okay.
Yeah.
In getting there, do you have to be let in? Are there any gates or fences that impede your getting there?
No.
Okay, is it just an open road, anybody can just drive in?
Yes.
And that's what you did that day?
Yes.
Who did you bring to the birthday party with you that day?
Myself, my mother, my 3 children, Jaden, Alana, Zane, and my nephew, Edward.
So something out of the ordinary happened at the birthday party. Do you remember anything about that?
I felt like I was blacked out. I don't remember nothing.
Okay.
I just remember hearing 3 voices. That was it.
Okay. Do you remember the birthday party prior to an unusual event?
Yeah.
Do you remember where you were sitting? What your last memory of before you blacked out was?
Yeah.
What's your last memory?
I was walking back to the table my children were sitting at as they were eating, and that was the last thing.
Okay. You don't remember hearing a crash or a loud boom?
No.
Okay. You don't remember where you wound up after the crash?
No.
You said you remembered voices.
Yeah.
Is that all you remember from the scene of the crash?
Yeah.
Do you know whose voices they were?
I believe they were my sister Raquel, my friend Tweety, and it may have been my niece Lily. So between those three.
What was the nature of those voices? How did they sound?
They sounded long distance.
And do you remember anything else from the scene that day?
No.
What's your next memory?
Waking up in the hospital.
Okay. Did you know where you were?
Kinda. I had my eyes squinted and I seen the surroundings, knowing that I was in a hospital room.
Okay. Was anyone with you?
My sister, Raquel.
Do you know how long after the crash you initially woke up?
No.
Do you know how long you were in the hospital in total?
My sister and my family members told me it was 4 days.
Okay.
4 days.
And you don't know how long you were out of consciousness?
No.
Did you receive any injuries as a result of the crash?
Yes.
What were those?
I had 6 broken ribs, a collapsed lung. I was missing a tooth. I had mouth injuries. I had a cut on my chin. My lips had to be stitched back together. I had a hematoma. I had a broken shoulder blade. And I had a concussion.
Are you still dealing with those injuries, or are they all healed?
I'm sore still, but I'm getting therapy.
Do you have any trouble breathing still from the ribs in your lung?
It's discomfort.
Okay. Was there any intervention for the collapsed lung? Did they do anything to your body because of that?
I had a chest tube put in.
Okay. Like through your throat or?
Through my rib cage.
Okay. So they had to cut you to put a chest tube into your lung?
Yes.
Your son Jaden was with you at the party?
Yes.
Do you have recollection of him being at the table with you and Zane and Alana?
I am not sure.
Okay. What's your last memory of Jaden and his location before the crash?
He was, I want to say close by the table, but he wasn't sitting at the table.
And he's your son, correct?
Yes.
And how old is he?
12.
Okay. And do you know if Jaden was hospitalized as a result of the crash?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how long Jaden was hospitalized?
2 weeks.
Okay. What injuries did he receive?
He had broken ribs. He had several broken bones through his body, on his legs. He had a deep cut in the back of his head. It had to be stapled. He also had a collapsed lung as well as a chest tube. He had a broken pelvis.
Did he have to have any, for lack of a better medical term, hardware put in for the broken bones?
Yes.
What was that?
There were rods put in both of his legs.
Okay. And obviously you had to have surgery for that.
Yes.
Okay. How is Jaden doing now?
He still can't walk.
Okay.
He's in a hospital bed still in our living room.
So you have to have home care for him?
Yeah.
Is he in any kind of therapy right now?
Yeah.
What kinds?
Physical therapy, occupational therapy, and he has regular nurses that come. And he has appointments outside of the home, getting x-rays to see the status of his injuries, to see what the next step is for him to walk, to try to walk.
Judge, I don't have any further questions.
All right, the case was bound over for trial. The Marshella Chidester's arraignment will be next week.